Welcome to an edition of Boxing Info. I'm your host, The Islander. This is going to be the recap show for the semi-controversial card this past weekend. And I've done things a little bit differently here because I didn't want to make any comments on the channel because I'm sure I'm just going to preface this by telling you turn your volume down again. And this is probably going to make some of you mad one way or another, what I'm about to tell you. Because I actually did some homework and decided to rewatch this fight again. Let me preface this by telling you we bought the fight, paid for it, watched it here at the office, and then I rewatched it yesterday on the DVR. And when I did that, I also scored the fight. I scored it mentally in my head when I was watching it live, but then I said, you know what, something's not right about this. Let me go ahead and basically score it and see what happens when I'm trying to be as objective as I can. Look, I didn't have a stake in this fight of wanting one fighter to win over another, but neither here nor there. Let me go over some of the results on the other card, or the undercard, and some other cards I did not do a preview for, because as some of you know, Showtime had a card with Austin Trout, who scored a 6th round TKO over Frank Laporto for some fringe junior middleweight title or interim title or whatnot. And Austin Trout is a up-and-comer prospect who's been getting a lot of exposure on the new generation. Over in Manchester, England, Tyson Fury scored a 3rd round stoppage over Nevin Pazkic. Pacquiao's both of them have 17 fights, so I guess it's, and both were undefeated, so I guess this is an okay fight. I didn't see this, I'm just telling you. I don't know whether we can really gain anything from this because Tyson Fury is going to have to step up the competition in order to get on level with some of the other younger up-and-coming heavyweights. I know he did just come off a fight with Chisora. Okay, now the pay-per-view card, and let's just fly through these results because these videos have been going way too long, and I'll address some of the issues I've seen with some of your comments. That's why I've stayed off, because I'm not getting into the middle of some of these arguments that some of you are having. Juan Carlos Burgos scored a 10-round decision over Luis Cruz. That was a high-contact fight. I don't know what to take from this as far as Burgos being in the mix of the elite in that division. I think he just got basically the exposure because he's a top-ranked fighter, and we'll just leave it at that. Then the fight that was kind of quasi-interesting. Mike Alvarado scoring a 10th round TKO over Bradis Prescott. Here's my take from this. The more and more I see Bradis Prescott, the less and less I think of him. As far as his sloppiness, the way he loops. I don't understand how a guy goes from being as precise as he was against Amir Khan. And precise, I mean throwing punches from inside his shoulders in straight avenues, and even his hooks were from tight punches, to knock Amir Khan out inside 54 seconds, to throwing these wide, loopy punches that with no precision. Although, I will say this, I had, like Harold Letterman, I had Prescott up at least 3 points going into the final round, and all he had to do was basically stand up to win the fight. Alvarado, I was impressed with him before his jail stint, and this style of keeping a big guard up and coming forward and basically taking punches until the guy gets in range to hit him is only going to carry you so far. It's only going to carry him so far. I remember there was talk in different boxing magazines that a couple 2-3 years ago they were going to try to match him against Victor Ortiz. And I didn't think that was a good thing at that time. Now I'm not so sure, but again, Alvarado is very carefully matched And this was a risk going against Breidis Prescott, and the risk thing is going to be a theme of this show. I thought the takeaways and the positives for Alvarado are that, one, he is extremely tough, takes a really good punch. If you saw the fight, his lip was basically cut, his top lip was cut almost off of his face at the end of the fight. And he, even holding that high guard in the middle of that fight, Prescott was able to pump jabs 2, 3, 4 in a row through that guard and still hit him in the face. He got busted up. And as much as I dog HBO for their commentary, I think Max Kellerman and Emmanuel Stewart did a pretty good job throughout the course of the night. And Kellerman in this picked out this one particular instance where he was saying that once Alvarado got his face busted up, he started to get loose and actually unveil his game. As far as a stoppage, I don't think it was a good stoppage. Think about what this is happening. Prescott gets knocked down. He gets back up. Both Kellerman and Manuel Stewart saying he's got to learn to tie up Alvarado. And he didn't look like he was doing it. He goes and ties Alvarado up awkwardly behind the head, and the referee stops the fight. Correct me if I'm mistaken, I watched it back, and Prescott had thrown a punch, within 5 or 10 seconds of that clinch happening, to try to keep Alvarado off of him. I thought he should have been given the opportunity to finish the fight, or actually, get put down again and have the fight called off at that time. The HBO cheerleaders are jumping up and down saying, "Oh, it's a great stoppage, great stoppage." Okay, fine, it is. I thought he could have been given a little bit more time to try to survive and basically because here's the thing. Let's be honest if we're being honest with each other. Do you really think Alvarado stands a prayer of a chance against the Timothy Bradleys or the Marcos Maidanas or the Amir Khans of the world? I don't. I think he's got a puncher's chance at minimal, because now that his face has been torn apart, and it's been torn apart by a guy who doesn't really punch he punches with great authority, but not with great technique. Imagine Timothy Bradley resting his forehead on Alvarado's face for several rounds. What would happen? This left a bad taste for me, is what it did. I'm one of the few people that would like to see Prescott fight Khan again, and that's probably why this is not sitting well with me. Alvarado's looking to, basically, this is another little tiny step up in competition. I really think he's got to ramp it up even more. And I wonder what happens if somebody like a Marcos Maidana goes upside his head. I think there are limits to his game, is what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to hate on him. I like him. I like how he fights. I just think there are limits to what you can do, because he should have lost this fight, in my opinion. With the severity of that cut, I'm wondering if the top-ranked people I'm not starting a conspiracy, but I'm wondering if they allowed him to continue to get this knockout like he did against Emmanuel Clottey in his last fight, or a couple of fights ago, to pull this one out of the fire as opposed to really protecting his health, because his face was busted up good. Alright, the next fight, which we all knew who was going to win this fight, Timothy Bradley, an 8th round TKO over Joel Casamayor. A lot of people are coming back and writing articles and stuff saying that this fight stunk. We knew what it was going to be. And actually, Bradley, for all of the rust that he had on him, and it showed at certain times, looked decent, because he did something that, a lot of guys can't do, and that's, get Casamayor to submit. One of the knockdowns, the second knockdown in the fight, I think in the 3rd round, was obviously a cuff where Bradley hit him with his forearm or whatnot, and the referee was, not not in the best position to call that, and Casamayor finally took a knee and gave in the 8th round, and that's when they stopped the fight. That was a good stoppage, and that's the case of an older guy, I think, knowing his limitations, because Bradley was definitely the better fighter. The thing about this, though, is, again, Bradley has positioned himself, now that that was his first fight with Top Rank, to get the bigger and better fights and to be promoted better than he was with Gary Shaw, according to him. But what's going to happen is that if he's going to be an opponent to Manny Pacquiao, should Pacquiao and Mayweather not happen, or a fourth Pacquiao-Marquez fight doesn't happen, the same way Mayweather sought out Victor Ortiz. Because eventually the elite pay-per-view fighters are going to run out of guys to fight on that level, and they're going to have to reach down and pull somebody up with them. That's where Timothy Bradley is being positioned right now. Or he's being positioned for somebody from lightweight to come up to challenge him at junior welterweight. It looked ugly, but again, it was a solid win for Bradley. And a rare stoppage for him, too. Okay, now all the trouble. Manny Pacquiao, 12-round majority decision over Juan Manuel Marquez. There's a lot to talk about here. A lot. One, I will tell you that I was wrong, and I owe Juan Manuel Marquez a huge apology for my prediction. I, like a massive number of you, bought into this this hoodwink, so to speak. I don't want the Pacquiao fans to get overly upset, because I'm going to tell all sides of this story. But as far as Marquez was concerned, I was bought into this hoodwink that Pacquiao had improved so much in the boxing area that there was nothing Marquez could do to offset him. Understand that this is prefaced now with hindsight, which is 2020, that watching Pacquiao transform his game from the second Marquez fight to what this elite top pound for pound, top 2 pound for pound, I call it the #1 pound for pound fighter in the sport, was done with, I wouldn't say clever matchmaking, but it was good matchmaking. Each time it was. David Diaz, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Joshua Clottey, Antonio Margarito, Shane Mosley. Alright. All of them at one time or another, except for David Diaz, were at an elite position. But none of them possessed the skills that Marquez does, had, and still does have. All of them held a considerable size advantage over Pacquiao. Now, does size matter? Generally speaking, it does. But in boxing, sometimes it doesn't. Because being bigger makes you slower. A bigger target. Maybe a little more clumsier against a faster fighter. And that's what Pacquiao did to all these guys. He swarmed them in and out. He caught them. They couldn't catch him. And he appeared to be this master boxer now. Now understand, I'm not taking anything away from him, because he still possesses the skills that he possesses. Please don't get me wrong. But there's some caveats and some cavities now that need to be filled. Marquez, on the other hand, has looked very sluggish in a lot of his recent fights. Casamayor, Juan Diaz, Michael Katsidis, the Floyd Mayweather fight. Okay, we just scrap that. It's almost like doing like the law of averages on school tests. You take out the high, you take out the low, and you take the middle. You take out the Mayweather fight, and we take out the Juan Diaz rematch, and you got really the crust of what Marquez has been about since the last Pacquiao fight. I'm going to go through the fight, and then I'll go through the scoring and all this other stuff, and we'll see how you react to what I'm about to tell you. Alright, it became very apparent early on in the fight that Pacquiao had an immense speed advantage over Marquez. Marquez looked awkward. He looked like he was caught out of position a few times, you know, basically trying to throw a punch when Pacquiao wasn't there anymore. It looked not good in the first round and a half. And in any event, it's going to go to voicemail. Any event, as the fight progressed, my take on this was that as I was sitting watching it with the people I was sitting watching it with, I said to them, it almost is like Freddie Roach is too smart for his own good. Because what it appeared to me was that Pacquiao came out with this idea that he was going to fight Marquez the same way he fought Margarito and Clottey and Cotto and David Diaz. He was going to wait for Marquez to make his move, and then he was going to swarm him. I think that our good friend, I think is his name now. But anyway, calls them an ambush fighters is what he calls them, and that's what he was. It looked like to me Pacquiao was waiting for. There was nothing wrong with that, but as Marquez got his feet under him, he was able to set traps for Pacquiao, because eventually, when two guys wait, one of them is going to get impatient and swat first, and we all know in this series that was always going to be Pacquiao. And Marquez is at his best when somebody is leaping at him or leading at him. Basically, he makes them miss, he makes them pay, or he gets hit, he makes them pay. And that's what started happening in this fight. I think that, in my opinion, if Pacquiao would have fought Marquez the way he did in the first fight, which means just leaping in with left hands, we wouldn't be having the controversy of the discussion we've been having. And let me back this up and tell you why I think this. I don't think either one of these two guys can stop each other's lead hand. They fought 36 rounds. Pacquiao is still eating straight right hands. Marquez is still eating straight left hands. They're basically perfect foils for each other. Now, as the fight progressed, obviously Pacquiao got into the fight and landed. Marquez landed also. When I was watching the fight, I thought, if you were looking at highlight film punches, if you're going to show somebody a microcosm of this, and you were looking at, Marquez was scoring the highlight film type punches. Pacquiao was scoring in volume. And as this winded down, I agree with Emanuel Stewart. I'm going to tell you how I watched this the first time. This is how I'm describing it to you right now, and then I'm going to tell you when I watched it last night over and I scored it, what I was thinking. As the fight was entering the 9th, 10th rounds, Emanuel Stewart was astutely pointing out that Marquez was not doing enough as far as throwing punches, whether he was countering or leading, or he wasn't making that distinction. I agree with him in some respects, and the other thing that he pointed out, that the crowd and we in general, I think, were more amazed that Marquez was doing as well as he was against the expectations that he would basically be done away with. This goes back to another fight I just spoke about a couple of episodes of BoxingInfo ago. Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard. Because it is a well-known fact that people, after about 5 or 6 rounds, were just amazed that Leonard was able to survive the Hagler onslaught, and basically gifted him this fight because he survived. Now, Hagler was the aggressor and all this other stuff. We're not going to talk about that, but the same kind of thing is happening here, that we are amazed that Marquez, some of us weren't, but a lot of us were. The odds makers who made Pacquiao a 9-1 favorite obviously were surprised, and I think we're giving, as I was watching it the first time, I was thinking to myself, we're giving Marquez a little bit more credit because he's just in there competing, whereas Pacquiao's previous 6 or 7 opponents have not even been competitive. Okay, the fight ends. Somebody's texting me back and forth. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I thought Pacquiao won the fight by maybe a round or 2, and I'm not above scoring rounds even, unlike Harold Letterman. You know, he and I haven't talked in a couple of years, but I think somebody at HBO tells him, the producers tell him, Harold, don't score any rounds even. You will confuse the people who watch Sex and the City and True Blood if you do that. Don't score any rounds even. Just make it cut and dry who wins a round. And this fight had even rounds, in my opinion. And I think that's what happened. So Harold Letterman and I disagreed on this fight in a couple of different ways. And I'm going to tell you, the judge that scored the fight 8 rounds to 4 for Pacquiao should be taken out, put against a wall, and shot. The judge that scored 7 rounds to 5 for Pacquiao, I can live with that. The judge that scored it even, I can live with that. I thought Pacquiao won the fight by 1 or 2 points, you know, when I initially watched it. Okay. this is keeping score mentally in my mind, not on paper. I start reading all your comments, all these people, Marquez got robbed, this and that, blah, 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 all that. Marquez's own interview with this, that it's a trap. You know, him and Nacho, he's sitting in the locker room with this, basically stark naked with only a sombrero covering him up. And, you know, Nacho Beristain is sitting there saying this is a travesty, but okay, whatever. You guys, according to them, they've never lost a fight in their life. I mean, this was in some ways similar to his fight with Freddie Norwood, where he just didn't do enough to get over the hump, in my opinion. It just, I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's his style, and I can't take that away from him because it's been very effective. I mean, it's been, you know, except for Ricardo Lopez, it's been the best, you know, that Nacho Beristain can put out there. And then, remind me to get back to this. If you bought the pay-per-view, you got to see the, I guess, head-to-head with Max Kellerman for Cotto and Margarito. You know, Cotto brings up that dumb iPad picture of Margarito's hand wraps. You know, you're starting to ask us again to believe that the Nevada State Athletic Commission is as incompetent as the California State Athletic Commission. Okay, he's asking what the red is. People on the hand wraps, folks, use your brain. Okay, look at the end of that fight. Cotto's face is a mask of his own blood. Okay, a mask of his own blood. Is it not possible for blood to seep through material and get onto the hand wraps? Get through the gloves and onto the hand wraps, inside the laces and onto the hand wraps? It's not possible? It's very possible. And as far as the tear, it's gauze. You know, those things were cut off in the ring. Nobody had any complaints about them. They shook hands with each other. You know what? I respect both these guys, but what Cotto's doing with this hand wrap thing, he's going to pay for. They're both shells of each other. But as Matt Kellerman once said about, when talking about the Thriller in Manila, and that reminds me, I got to read you something about Joe Frazier that almost made me cry. Almost made me cry. That when two fighters are in decline at the same time, which these two are, they sometimes produce something special like the Thriller in Manila. All right, back to Pacquiao and Marquez. I went through and I scored this fight last night, and there's some interesting things that I was looking at Dan Raphael's scorecard also. All right, going through the fight, the first round, I scored that 10-9 for Pacquiao. And just barely, it could have been an even round. I put an asterisk next to this because it may come into play later on in total scoring. But like Harold Letterman, I thought that the guy coming forward that landed more punches, that was dictating the fight, won that round. The second round, clearly Marquez's round. I think he outlanded Pacquiao 6-4 in power punches. And again, he was landing the highlight reel power punches. Straight right hands, you know, basically making a mark. Pacquiao, you got to understand about power punches. It's anything but a jab. Anything but a jab. So even a light, you know, uppercut or a light roundhouse punch counts as a power punch. A body shot counts as a power punch. Okay, so 6-4 in power punches for Marquez in the second round. I gave that round to Marquez. The third round, that round was Marquez's round. It evened out, and at the end of the round, Pacquiao caught Marquez with a right hook and then followed it up. To me, that was enough to swing the round because that was, again, a highlight reel type punch. And the way I'm scoring these rounds as I'm watching this is, I don't care about who scores more punches than the other guy. I'm more inclined with the way the action between these two over the three fights goes. When one guy gets another guy, and we know this, and the other guy comes back and gets that guy, whoever gets the other guy the most, and when I say gets him, I'm not talking about lands a jab. I'm talking about cranks a right hand off its head or a left hand. He's got him, okay? Even if for a second, he got him. Good. Whoever's done it the most is who I score the round for, okay? So a lot of these rounds are hard to score. So the third round, that right hook at the end of the round that Pacquiao landed, and he followed up with a left hand, was the tipping point to give Pacquiao that round for me. The fourth round, and this is where I'm going to ask your opinion, I've watched it live. I watched it again. Pacquiao, according to CompuBox, outlanded Marquez 15-12 in power shots, although I didn't see them as highlight reel power shots, okay? I'm right here, both 38 out of something, I can't read my writing or whatnot. Anyway, I couldn't pick a clear winner of that round. I scored the 4th round even. I think Harold Lederman and Dan Rafael gave that round to Pacquiao. Okay, I'm calling that round even. There was nothing to distinguish between the two of them. Okay, 10-10. The 5th round. So this must have been clear Marquez's round in the fight. 10-9. The 6th round. Again, more highlight reel shots being landed by Marquez. I gave him the round 10-9. The 6th. The 7th round, that's the round that Jim Lampley was basically putting on a skirt and being a cheerleader and going gaga over Pacquiao's footwork, which was impressive, let me tell you. But again, the highlight reel punches were being landed by Marquez. I have the round scored 10-9 for Marquez in the 7th. Okay, the 8th round. This is a tricky round because I put an asterisk next to this one too. Marquez outlanded Pacquiao, I think, in power shots in that round, 13-11. But, in my opinion, Pacquiao got to Marquez more times in that round. You could score it even. When I was watching it live, and when I watched it again, I thought Pacquiao just edged him out in that round, very similar to the 1st round. So I got that one 10-9, the 8th round for Pacquiao with an asterisk next to it. The 9th round, again, Pacquiao doing more. I gave him the 9th round 10-9. Now, the 10th round. This is when the headbutt happened. Okay, before the headbutt and after it, Marquez scored with the highlight reel punches, especially that right hand when they showed you right before the headbutt happened. 10-9 for Marquez in that round. At that point, I have the fight scored 96-95 for Marquez after 10 rounds. Okay, the 11th round, Pacquiao by far finished the round stronger. Marquez stopped punching for some reason. I think it was Nacho. 10-9 for Pacquiao. Now here's where it gets interesting. Alright, the fight scored 105-105 on my scorecard after 11 rounds. The 12th round, okay, Marquez gets off early in this round and scores a couple of heavy punches. Then for some reason takes off the rest of the round. Pacquiao basically finishes the round stronger and scores more punches, or scores more punches later in the round. There's not much to separate them in this round. I don't know how you can score the round for Pacquiao like everybody did, like Letterman, like Dan Rafael. Dan Rafael had Pacquiao winning the last 3 rounds. I don't know what the hell he was watching. And Harold Lederman had the 12th. He loves giving the 12th round to Pacquiao. He gave the 12th round in the second Pacquiao fight to Pacquiao when everybody knows that's when Marquez drilled him. I say this, I'll just say this. The 12th round, a tie. There was no distinct winner if you're looking at the whole round, 10-10. With that scoring, I had the fight scored, looking at it objectively, 115-115. If you score the first round even, I've got Marquez winning the fight by a point, which I don't. Because when I watched it live, and when I watched it doing the scoring, I still thought Pacquiao had a slight edge in the first round. There wasn't much to separate them, but again, the effective aggressiveness and all the things that go in. I'm glad that Harold Lederman actually in this fight distinguished in the middle of the fight that there were more things than just total punches. That the guy who is, punching and moving and showing ring generalship, the guy who's playing defense. And let's be clear, in my opinion, over the whole body of the fight, I've got this written down here. According to PunchStat totals, Pacquiao landed 176 of 518 punches. But then I saw another graphic later on when they had like the hit zone, that stupid thing they put up, where it looked like he only landed 166. So the math is wrong somewhere. Alright, for 30% of his punches. Marquez landed 138 of 463. Now understand, almost all of these punches on both sides are power punches because neither one of them really lands a jab that much when they fight each other. Okay, for 32% of his shots. Alright, here's the thing. The guy who was coming forward and the guy who threw more punches and landed more total punches was given the fight by the judges at ringside. When I watched it the first time, that's what I thought. Now when I watched it the second time and I really analyzed it, I saw it even. That's with 2 even rounds. So I had it scored 5 rounds for Pacquiao, 5 rounds for Marquez with 2 even. One of the things that we need to give the judges some credit for and give them some lenience for is the fact that they sit on one side of the ring and only see the action one way. So they may be looking at Pacquiao's back the whole night. They may be looking at Marquez's back the whole night. One judge might be lucky enough, the one who scored a draw, to see them from the position where he sees them like we see them on TV, where they're facing each other and we see the side of them. And so we need to take that into consideration. All right. I know most of you thought Marquez won. I'm not going to argue with that. I know a lot of you thought Pacquiao did enough to win. I'm not going to argue with that either. I personally thought they could have scored this fight a draw, and I'm okay with the decision being a slight decision for Pacquiao. Now, what's the fallout from this? All right, I've already seen some of you comment saying that Pacquiao basically stands like no chance against Mayweather after seeing this. I was thinking that as this fight was going on. I was talking to my buddies. I said if Marquez could do this to Pacquiao, what would Mayweather do? But we need to examine some differences. Before you Pacquiao fans start breaking your computer screen at what I'm saying, hear this out, because it's not as bad as you may think. And for all you Pacquiao haters out there who are saying, "Ha ha, I told you so," hold your horses. There's a wrinkle in this, okay? Hold your horses. And I gotta find that Joe Frazier thing before I forget about it. It was really nice. It was sent by Top Rank. Facebook. I'll find it eventually. Okay. Did Marquez do something that no fighter in the past 3 years has done? Yes. Did he solve Pacquiao? In some ways, yes. Now, let's ask some other critical questions. Does Floyd Mayweather, do everything that Marquez does better? The answer is yes. Now you ask me, what would stop Mayweather from picking Pacquiao apart? Well, here's where the wrinkles, and as my friend who was watching, Jimmy, if you're watching the show, who was watching this with me, was saying this is the rub. Alright, Mayweather is taller, Mayweather is bigger, Mayweather is stronger, and Mayweather is faster than Marquez. And Mayweather plays better defense than Marquez. Is anybody disagreeing with me on this? Because I think this is factually based information, and it proved itself when the two fought each other. Am I not correct? Okay. Now the Pacquiao fans out there are saying, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, our God is about to be taken down." No, stop. It's not like that. Even though Mayweather does all these things better than Marquez, there are subtle differences between the two of them. And I'm going to make this, I made this point the other night. Here is the differences. And they're two major differences, okay? And this is why Pacquiao still has a legitimate chance of beating Mayweather. Listen, the first difference, Mayweather does play defense better than Marquez. Given. So you Flomos are going to say, if that's the case, how's Pacquiao going to hit Mayweather? There's an answer to that. Mayweather plays different defense than Marquez does. Mayweather, by far better defensively than Marquez, does his defense with his shell, with his blocking, with his parrying, okay? Mayweather does not duck. He maintains his height at all times. He maintains a height advantage over guys who are the same height as him. Is one of the things he does absolutely the best is he maintains his height better than any boxer I have ever seen, maybe with the exception of Lennox Lewis, but he does. Okay, he does not generally slip and duck punches. He blocks them and rolls with them and basically gets into a shell. Are the Flomos going to disagree with me on this? I can show you tons of footage of this. He does this better than anybody else. Okay, Marquez, on the other hand, ducks and slips punches. Why is this significant? Because the guy who ducks and slips punches is able to make the guy pay who just missed him. Now Mayweather can make you pay when he's blocking punches. Okay, understand that. I'm not taking that away from him. But at the same time, Pacquiao can only get off one or two shots at a time against a guy that ducks and slips punches as opposed to a guy that covers up. Ask Joshua Clottey, ask Cotto, ask Margarito, ask all the guys that don't move their head. Mayweather used to move his head. Mayweather is very stationary and very much in his little Philly shell there or whatnot, and a blocker. Pacquiao's still going to have trouble hitting him. Understand this. And Pacquiao's still going to get countered. Understand this. But the chances of success in landing in successive shots basically increases greatly against a guy who does what Mayweather does as opposed to a guy that does what Marquez does. Now, another reason why Pacquiao still has a chance against Mayweather. Unlike Juan Manuel Marquez, Mayweather does not take risks. Marquez takes risks. That's why he gets hammered every so often. Because he takes the risks, and that's the way he's able to land on Pacquiao. He gets hit too because of it. But let's be clear. Floyd Mayweather does not take anywhere near the risks that Juan Manuel Marquez does, and Juan Manuel Marquez is a counterpuncher who doesn't take risks by nature. So what does that tell you? That all the offense you saw, Marquez unloading on Pacquiao is because of those two things I just told you. He takes risks, and his defense is different than Mayweather's. Mayweather is a stand-up, stand-tall type fighter who fights behind, basically excellent reflexes in boxing and blocking and that shoulder roll. Marquez is a ducker and a slipper. And when you combine those two things, you have a better tactical fight from Marquez. Now, here's the deal. After seeing what I saw, I'd say the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, what's really running, this is almost like college football, which drives me nuts because I want to see the BCS, the Bowl Championship Series, basically torn down. I think it's a bunch of bull is what I think it is. And every year, my credo to this is I want to see teams from 4 of the major conferences go undefeated and make the whole thing fall apart. But of course, it never works out that way, as we keep seeing week in and week out. But the same thing applies to Pacquiao and Mayweather, because when Pacquiao blows out Ricky Hatton, we're all like, he's the guy that's going to do it. He runs rampant over De La Hoya, he's the one that's going to do it. He runs rampant over Cotto, he can do it. He runs rampant over Margarito, he can do it. He puts Mosley down and wins every round of the fight, he can do it. Mayweather didn't even fight Mosley that good. Alright, here's the thing. For the first time after a Pacquiao fight, a lot of us are sitting back saying, maybe he can't beat Mayweather. Understand, anybody could beat anybody, okay? It's generally after a guy fights, we think he's got the leg up. This is the first time a guy's fighting and we think, at least I do, and a lot of you on there think, that maybe Mayweather's got the upper hand now. And Mayweather didn't do anything. I mean, he sucker punched Victor Ortiz. The Flomos are going to point out, look. Look what Pacquiao's in another life and death struggle with Marquez, and this is after Mayweather schooled him and basically shut him out, knocked him down. Pacquiao couldn't even knock him down at 147. That's all true. That's all it is. It's true. It's factually based information. But then I ask you, was Pacquiao cracked upside the head with a right hand by Shane Mosley and forced to go into a crouching position and do whatever he could to survive a round? Or who was it that put Shane Mosley on the canvas? Was that Mayweather? No. That was Pacquiao. Okay? Was it Mayweather that broke Antonio Margarito's orbital bone? Oh no, I forgot. That was Pacquiao who scored a shot over him. Was that Mayweather that dropped Cotto twice and stopped him in 12 rounds? No. That was Pacquiao. Was that Mayweather who basically knocked Ricky Hatton out with one punch? Oh, no. That was Pacquiao. Was that Mayweather who made Oscar De La Hoya quit on the stool? No. That was Pacquiao. Mayweather lost the fight on one judge's scorecard. What I'm trying to say here is none of that matters. Because different styles are going to cause different results when guys fight the same guy. Okay? Mayweather may shut Marquez out every day of the week. Pacquiao may struggle with him every day of the week. But the simple fact of the matter is that against bigger guys who are bigger targets, Pacquiao's going to perform. And I've said this before, that Marquez gives him trouble because Marquez is about his size. He's not a big target. He plays good defense. He's technically sound. Now, my thing is, how did I get this wrong in the prediction? Well, I bought into this thing that Pacquiao was the supreme boxer puncher now. But if he doesn't have a guy leading, he's going to have problems. And he's going to have problems with Mayweather. Not to say he can't beat Mayweather, not to say Mayweather can't beat him. I'm just breaking it down to why the fight needs to be fought and what's going to happen if it does. That's going to do it. I'm trying to find this email I got that was absolutely tear-jerking. It was by Tarvis. What day was it that Joe Frazier died after the weekend? So that was last Monday. Today's the 14th. That was the 7th. I would have gotten this on the 7th or the 8th. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm sorry to delay you, but I wanted to share this. I even wanted to make a special video about this. Tarvis Sims wrote this, and Main Events passed this on. I swear I almost cried when I read this. I'm going to read it to you, so pardon me. And this is about Joe Frazier. And I'm going to end this show on this. This is called Brotherly Love, written by Tarvis Sims. Alright, bear with me now. My brother has fallen, and everyone knows his name. We don't have the same parents, but our families are still the same. He lived in the city of Philadelphia. I lived in another. It doesn't really matter because this man was my brother. My brother I call him, yet we never met face to face. I have brothers and sisters all over the place. You see, we are both fighters and our families are one. Around the world, it's brotherhood that's second to none. His family's my family, your family or theirs. We're part of one big family where everyone cares. I'll look after your kids. Please look in on my wife. Should that day finally come, I can no longer fight for my life. We dedicate our lives helping our fellow man, living day after day, doing all that we can. Wherever we're needed, whether nighttime or day, to fight for the life of another will step in harm's way. My brother has fallen after doing what he loved best, and among the honored, he now stands with the rest. For one more round in the ring, here everyone stands. My brother has fallen, got into your hands. Rest in peace, Smoking Joe Frazier by Tarvis Sims. That is one of the best emails I have gotten in many years. And I'm just going to leave you on that note. Thanks, everybody.